going back to the territories with NWA. And yes, I know we are missing my co-host Fiona Lochran. The shoot job, so to speak, gets in the way of her joining, but she'll be on other shows like the NWA Power Review that we'll be doing soon. But today, we're going to introduce you to one of the people that you will see when NWA goes back to the territories. Someone from the World League of Wrestling, the Harley Race Academy, who, and incidentally, has gold in his sights this weekend. It is the Grand Regent himself, Camaro Jackson. How are you?
Good. How you doing today, man?
We're good. We are all good. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And as I said, we were talking briefly off air before we start. NWA going back to the territories. We know that taping has happened. It happened this past weekend. But what we want to do is for the fans that maybe haven't really been to World League of Wrestling or maybe have only seen your stuff on social media is an introduction. So why don't you tell us, how did Camaro Jackson get into wrestling?
I've always been a fan of it. As far as back as I can remember, I've always watched wrestling. But I really started getting into it like in the early 2000s. So around 2000, 2001, that's when I really started getting into it and actually paying attention to it. So I've always been a fan. Always deep down inside, I've always wanted to be a wrestler. But I obviously did other things growing up. Growing up, I used to run track. I ran track for almost a decade. Well into college as well. And once I was done with track, I was like, I think I'm gonna gain some weight, work out, I become a wrestler. And it's crazy because I was literally telling people that years before I even started training that I was like, yeah, I'm gonna become a wrestler one day. So this is embarrassing to say. When they had Tough Enough, when was it like 2013,
Yeah.
2014? I did like the YouTube auditions and stuff like that, and it's so cringe to watch now. But it was like in the time frame, in the moment, it was so cool. I'm like, they're gonna pick me. They're gonna pick me. They didn't pick me. But in that same year, I attended a Harley race camp for World League Wrestling. I attended a Harley race camp at the Harley Race Academy. Harley was there. Beautiful Bobby Eaton was there, and the WLW Superstar was there as well. It was a 3-day camp, and that experience made me more wrestling even more. So that was 2014. I didn't officially start training until the end of 2016 in December. I was still in school. I wanted to finish up my studies first before I focused on something else. Um, and yeah, man, it's crazy because like my trainer, Derek Stone, and I had no knowledge of this at the time, but he was one of the Harley's head trainers back in the day. So it was a crazy like full circle moment. And I'm like, oh wow, I'm really connected. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're cousins in a way, you know what I'm saying? So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, man, that's how I got my foot in the door with wrestling. And ever since then, man, it's been a journey.
Yeah, it has. But you had a good point there because you said that, when you grow up, say, I'm going to be a wrestler, I'm going to be a wrestler. And a lot of wrestling fans, me included, I mean, I tried it for a month and yeah, it
Uh,
worked to me. But people say it, but what made these people say from saying it to doing it is two different things? How did you actually get from saying it to physically doing it?
so my roommate in college, he was a big wrestling fan. We used to watch wrestling together all the time, worked out together. A buddy of his was the strength and conditioning coach for the school that I trained at in Kansas City. Um, so he knew the guy from working out with him and stuff. So he saw a post on Facebook like, "Oh, there are tryouts for this, that, and so," and he sent it to me, and I'm like, "Dad." And it's funny, before he sent it to me, I saw it like 3 times already, but like I was kind of ignoring it. I'm like, man, I'm broke. I ain't got the money for this right now. Because it was one of those things where like I wanted to do it, but I knew like realistically maybe I couldn't because of money. Because starting out as a wrestler in training schools are very expensive. Um, but like once he sent that post to me, that text, he sent it through a text. I'm like, dang, is this a sign that I should do this? So this by then it was the fourth or fifth time I saw it, and I'm like, okay, let me see what's up. So I go to the tryout. Tryout goes well, luckily enough, my trainer Derek Stone, he cut tuition in half. He's like, hey man, you did so well, XYZ. Like, I think you have a good future. I want to help you out. Tuition was $3,000. I only paid $1,800 because of him. And he didn't know me from a can of paint. He just wanted to help me. And to this day, he's like one of my closest friends, man. It's like my best friend. Like, I talk to him about everything. So like, he's had my back before he even knew who I was. You know, he didn't even like know what type of person I was. Like, I could have been a scam. You know what I mean? Like, I could have been a bad person, but like like the thing I'm learning with wrestling, man, like you always have to like kind of have like that positive attitude and energy towards it, because there's a lot of negative in it. And there's a lot of, what's the words I'm looking for? There's a lot of you will never do this. You can't do this. You shouldn't do this. Don't do this. And I always think about like how nice he was with me, how genuine he was with me. And that was just him being him. Like, that man is willing to give me the shirt off his back, you know what I'm saying? Like, he will just go out of his way. And at the time, before I started wrestling, like, I was a broke college student. I was expecting my second kid. Had a full-time job. Like, I'm in a long-distance relationship with my wife. Like, it was just so much going on. I'm trying to graduate college. I'm trying to do this, trying to do that. I don't have a car, so how am I going to get the training? And when after that tryout, I told myself, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to, if I got to take 2 buses, 3 buses a day to get to training, I will do it. And that's what I did, man. I did that for the better part of a good year. I take the bus to training 2 hours every day, hour back, hour there, hour back, because that's what I want to do. And if it ever came to like, I don't know, man, like, and will also like help me with that. Like, I was reading Jericho's books, Undisputed and Best in the World, and I read both of them within a week of each other on the bus rides to training, and that really made me dial in. I was like, okay, I'm definitely doing this. So with the combination of Derek's just being genuine and reading Jericho's stories, I'm like, this is for me. This is for me. I'm gonna do this until it's not, until it's time for me to stop. So I've been fortunate enough I'm 7 years in now. Been fortunate enough to have been around and do some cool stuff. So like, I'm only just getting started, man.
Yeah, because I say 7 years, you're still learning, really, aren't you? Even 7 years in, you are still learning. But what's the best bit so far? What's the best bit of advice that you've been given whilst training?
Oh man, it's been a lot of cool advice. I'll say the most recent one that Trevor Murdoch gave me the other day. And I'm paraphrasing. I'm not literally quoting him, but he told me basically, like, once you climb that ladder in wrestling, it's like it's piggybacking to that negative side of wrestling. It's easy to be negative. It's easy to talk about people. It's easy to go at certain situations and talk about it negatively. He said to me, let's show love. Let's show love to wrestling. Like, we love wrestling. Why are we always so not negative towards it? It doesn't do nothing for the business. It doesn't help it grow. We're going to show love to wrestling. Like, the further we climb up top, the harder it is already. But we're going to continue to show love to wrestling. We're going to continue to show love to other places, because that's what you're supposed to do. And I don't know, for me, you just never know like what you will get out by showing positivity and love to people, man. Because you could make somebody's day by doing that, and that's just a lot. That's a good lesson for life in general. At least for me, like, I just feel like in this stage of my life, not even my career, but my life, I'm just trying to clear my mind and clear my thoughts of like the bad and the ugly. I want to focus on the good and the great. Now, is there going to be bad? Sure. Is there going to be ugly? Sure. Am I going to get upset at both, sure, but I'm going to take it a day at a time, and I'm just going to push forward because nothing lasts forever. The bad won't last forever, and the ugly will not last forever. Because out the ugly comes the good, out the bad comes the great. At least in my experiences, at least in the people I know and I'm around, their experiences, there's always more good than it is bad. So like it's just showing love to it all. So that's just something I'm just trying to grow and be better about as a wrestler and as a person.
Sure. I mean, definitely so. I mean, people need to take a note of that on, especially on social media when you see it a lot all the time on there. And yeah, we don't listen to that sort of crap on here anyway. But talking about you, where did the Grand Regent come from?
So this character or moniker persona is actually pretty new. I debuted this new side of myself in March. Originally, I was titled the Quad Father.
Yeah.
And the look was no knee pads, my legs are out, I'm picking up people, squatting them, I'm doing that. And so, but this version of my character is more so me. I'm not gonna say I didn't take wrestling serious when I was the Quad Father. But this is I kind of try to relate wrestling to where I'm at in life, especially like with like what I'm going through personally. The Grand Regent, he's powerful, he's strong, he's assertive, he's calculated. He's more focused. He's not worried about the bad. He's focused on the good. He's focused on his goal, and that's where I'm at right now in life in general. And the Quad Father, he was having a good time. He wasn't worried about tomorrow. He was just worried about the now. Where the Grand Regent, he works hard. He also plays hard. Quad Father, he just played hard. He partied hard, which is cool, which is fine. But um, me in real life, I'm 30. So I told myself I'm going to do some real big things for wrestling this year. As soon as I turn 30, I'm going to really dial in. And holy cow, big things have come to me quicker than I ever could expect. So I'm just grateful that like this new version of me is working out so quick because I didn't think it was going to work out that quick. But the fact I already had the groundwork. I know what I'm doing. It's just really dialing in and going all in with it. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this with my merchandise, my social media, XYZ. I'm gonna clean it all up. I'm gonna be all in. Like I was already all in and focused, but it's just different when you kind of hit that like factory reset. Like you know how on your phone you don't have enough storage, and you factory reset. Boom, you got space again. You can move around, download these applications, add on to it. So that's where I'm at. I'm at the factory reset of my, I guess, career, which I'm still young in my career, but I'm at the point where like, okay, I want this. I know my goal. I know what I want. Because many years ago, when I was in college, I wrote a list of things that I want in my life. And as cliche as this might sound, I've gotten them all in the last year or two. So I said, I was probably 20, 21 when I made this list. I said, I'm going to get my own, I'm going to get a house that buy my first car. Finally got that last year. I'm going to get a great full-time shoot job that's going to, benefits, all that stuff. It's going to work with my wrestling. I got that a couple years ago. I said I wanted to, perfect my wrestling, get better at wrestling, get more known in wrestling. Like that part is it's insane because I always feel like people don't know who I am, but I can literally be walking around my city. Then somebody random will like walk up to me, hey, you're Camaro, the wrestler. I'm all, hey, yeah, man, I'm the wrestler. Like, it was this one time I was in the store, man, grocery shopping, and there was this kid following me. Like, he wasn't a young kid, he was a teenager. He's following me. And I'm like, I know this guy. Like, do we got beef or something? I'm like, I'm kind of scared a little bit. And he a young guy, he had a hood on. And I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna try to rob me or something. I don't know, follow me. So then he starts walking up to me. He has his hand in his pocket. I'm like, oh my God. Oh no, what are we doing? What are we doing? And he pulls out his phone. He's like, "Are you Camaro Jackson?" And my heart dropped. I'm like, "Yes, I'm Camaro Jackson. Take a picture with you. You're my favorite wrestler." And I'm like, people know who I am in this big old town. Like, I always assume that like people don't know who I am. And like I have random strangers walking up to me saying, "You're my favorite wrestler. I want to wrestle because of you." And I'm like, "Huh?" So like still kind of coming to a realization that I actually do. My wrestling touches people. They reach out to people. So like that's I still can't believe that sometimes. So like it's still hard for me to put together.
It was interesting that you made a point there about reinventing yourself because you remember Chris Jericho's books. Now he went through lots of stages of reinventing
Yeah.
himself. Did that have a bit of an influence as well at that point, reading his books and then thinking, "Oh, I need
Oh,
to."
absolutely, absolutely, man. Jericho's one of my favorites, man. Like reading, it's funny. Like he was always one of my favorites, but reading his books made me even more more relatable to him. And I always wanted to have a similar journey to him. Like when he's went to Japan, WCW, Mexico, ECW, then he went to where he wanted to go right after that, which was WWE. And I'm like, man, I want the same path. I want to travel the world, do X, Y, Z, and hopefully land in the company, my dreams. So that's like it's relatable. Like it was relatable before I even laced up my boots.
Yeah, interesting. That is really good, actually. I've had read those books it's myself, so I know how good they are. However, this past weekend, you did go back to the territories of NWA. You went there as part, as I said, of the World League of Wrestling, the Harley Race Academy. We're not going to ask for any spoilers or anything like that. But what was that weekend like for you? Because obviously you said Trevor Murdoch, people like EC3, Ricky Morton even may have been. I'm not sure if he was there. I'm just, because I know that he's on Power quite a bit. So there's so much knowledge there. Was it really important that not only did you impress when you went and done the ring work, but outside of that and getting the knowledge, the advice, and getting people like that to watch what you do?
It's very important, man. Like I always try to I think a lot of wrestlers they're scared to talk to like the people, I guess you could say a value our names. They're scared to like open up like, hey, you got any advice, for me, I'm an up and coming wrestler XYZ. So like I'm always trying to ask questions, man. I'm always trying to make friends with these guys, man. And like luckily enough, like they all like me, thank God. So like it's super easy to reach out and talk to them or like if we're at a show I'm able to sit down and like pick their brain about stuff. Um, and I was able to do that a lot this past weekend. So I'm just, dude, just grateful. Like I've met some cool people, and like every time like I run into them again, I'm always at their hip, like trying to pick their brain or asking for stuff or asking questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you should be. But let's talk World League Wrestling, Harley Race Academy. The name there, you go, synonymous, Harley Race. Obviously Leland Race is there as well doing this all. When you get sort of, obviously you get promotions coming to you, do you want to do this and you take it. But when you get a promotion like World League Wrestling that has the Harley Race bit afterwards, is that extra special because you know the lineage behind it?
Yes, absolutely. It's so special, so special. Um, and that's the man. If I never did anything in my career and I could only wrestle in one place, I'm choosing World League every time. Every time. Is this holds a special place in my heart just off the fact like I had the experience with the summer camp. Me and Leland, like that's I would do anything for that man. And Harley, like I heard that name growing up so many times. I'm like, who the heck is Harley Race? What is a Harley Race? I'm 5 years old watching wrestling. They're already my family stayed talking about the NWA, Ric Flair, Devon Eric's wrestling at the Chase. They always talked about that. And I'm like, what does that have to do with me? I just want to watch my Raw, my Monday Night Raw. But as I get older and as I like learned more wrestling and more like of the history, like I learned to appreciate it. And being able to have wrestled in front of Harley, like many many times before he passed, like just meant the world to me. So my goal is to carry that legacy, carry that lineage. You know what I mean? I want to be just as great, if not better. So that's oh man, yeah.
Yeah, definitely so. And it's just the as I say, the name itself, the lineage it comes through. I know it sounds stupid because obviously, as I say, you do get bookings everywhere. But when you get the booking for Harley Race, do you think that is there a little bit more pressure on you because like you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be wrestling Harley Race, Leland Race. You know, I
Yeah.
need to be on top of my game here.
Oh, dude, the first time I wrestled there, it was very random because one of the guys at the time that was there, John Webb, and, Jack Gamble, they reached out to me, my tag partner, who the guy I was tagging with at the time, and they were really trying to kind of freshen things up at WW, make things different. And this was January of 2019. Um, remember him, remember Jack reaching out to me, Jack and John, and I've worked with Jack before. He had his own little promotion, and he has ties to Harley because he trained there, or used to work there, and just get him. He was trying to get my foot in the door. They were trying to get our foot in the door so they could have fresh faces at that place. Um, and the nicest thing about that opportunity, those guys really pushed for us to be right out the gate the top tag team. Like, most places they'll bring in outside people to make their guys look good. And they said, no, we're going to bring these two in. We're going to make them look good. We're going to put them over. We need to freshen things up. And that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. Cause like that never happens in wrestling, man. It's real rare we have selfless people trying to help. And that just goes back to what I said about my trainer, man. Like a guy like that who's willing to give the shirt off my back. Those guys who helped me get my foot in the door, through the hallway, into the ring with the World League Wrestling, and put us immediately in a prominent position to succeed. So that was just very important. Very important. I think that's still something that's very important in wrestling in general. So yeah, man, like that was like an unheard of thing, Ever since then, like I've been there close to all the time, if not more.
Yeah, it's really good to see that, especially with say with the lineage of Harley. But let's just play a little thing here. Just say Billy Corgan called you up to Power, and who would you want in the NWA? Your debut episode on Power. Who are you facing?
Debuted, man, Trevor, Trevor Murdoch. And I say that because that's one of the toughest men on that roster. And I pride myself on my toughness. And if I'm going to prove something, I'm going to prove that I'm a hard hitting, tough SOB. You got to go through the toughest of them all, in my opinion, and make a statement. So that would be the one for me.
Trevor Murdoch versus Camaro Jackson. Book it, Billy. But before then, and even before we get to what you're doing this Saturday, just briefly touch on, you did have a bit of a showing in AEW and in the Ring of Honor. What was that like for you, and what did you learn coming off the back of that?
I think the biggest thing with doing that, because you do those tape-ins and sometimes you only have 3 or 4 minutes in the ring. So it's maximizing my minutes and maximizing the opportunity. So just trying to figure out ways, okay, how can I stand out and be the best part of the night, or talked about part of the night with only 3 minutes or 4 minutes to do it, especially in a tag match. So that's always was like every time I do those type of shows, I always thinking like, okay, what can I do to stand out? What is no one else even on the roster that's doing that won't do it as good as me? And what year was it? 2022? Was it 2022? Yeah, I think so. 2021. I did Dark, the 6-man tag. It was against Best Friends.
Yeah.
Wheeler Yuta was with them at the time, and I did a sequence where I held him up for suplex and I did a deep squat. And at the time, I kid you not, and I'm not being arrogant when I say this, no one did it like how I did it. No one still do it like how I do it. Only person I saw do it like how I did it was Jeff Cobb. But the like the mine, I actually did a deep squat while having the guy up in the air for a suplex. And that was the loudest reaction I've ever heard in my life because I never wrestled in front of a crowd like that before, obviously, up to that point. But that reaction, and I'm not being arrogant when I say this is a fact, was one of the best reactions of the whole entire night, including the main show.
Amazing.
So having that moment and seeing my phone afterwards blowing up, I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. I really just did a thing. So ever since then, it kind of restructured my brain on how matches should be structured and how matches should be. It's like, you know, people have their way of going about matches and how they put them together, which is fine. But like, I'm always thinking like, okay, how can I stand out in this match? Even if it's not the biggest or the prettiest sequence or spot or whatever you want to call it, but what can I do to make someone go, oh, dang, that was good. Oh, I didn't, oh my goodness, wow, that was, even if it's a strike, a move, or the way I, you know, react to getting hit or taking something, like I'm always thinking like, okay, what can I do that no one else is going to do as good as me? Because I know there are things that I can do that a lot of people can't. So I always try to, you know, survey my environment, of course. You know, okay, well, this person's here. I'm not going to be able to do that as good as them. Oh, this person's here. I'm not going to be able to do as good as them. So I'm always thinking like, okay, what do I do very good? I'm a strong MFer. And I'm always like, okay, can I put someone over my head and press them a couple times and throw them? Okay, cool. Like, you know, I think about those type of things.
Yeah, exactly that. And well, you certainly did do well on the AEW bit, but this coming Saturday, you've got a slightly, well, I'd say slightly more important, that's probably not the right word, but you do have an opportunity at the World League Wrestling Heavyweight Championship against Superstar Steve. Mindset going into that before we start wrapping up.
I gotta win, man. I gotta win that. That's the one championship that I've always wanted in my entire existence as a professional wrestler. First of all, that's Harley's place. That's Harley's promotion. Yeah. I wasn't able to win a championship, you know, while he was there, but I've been a tag team champion there. I'm a little too big for the junior heavyweight championship. That world title, the heavyweight title, like that's the one I need. I've been chasing that dream for years, and I'm really close. I'm closer than I think sometimes because I like all it takes is one lariat, and the guy's not getting up. So Saturday, I'm putting it in a Superstar Steve, and if it doesn't happen Saturday, that's always next time because I'm gonna keep coming back. I'm gonna keep coming back. I'm gonna keep coming back. I'm gonna keep coming back because that's what we do. That's what I do. Like my favorite heroes, my favorite wrestlers, no matter how many times they get knocked down, all it takes is that one time for them to stand up and be tall.
Exactly that. As we finish up now, Camaro, if people want to get hold of you on social media, if you want to get bookings or if you've got merch to sell, what's your calendar like and where can people reach you?
Okay, so my social media pages, Heel Camaro, so HEEL Camaro, CAMARO, and that's for all my socials. Facebook, you just type in Camaro Jackson. YouTube, type in Camaro Jackson and put wrestling at the end because I am named after a car, so a whole bunch of cars. Type in Camaro Jackson. I'm also on Big Cartel at Camaro Jackson, so I have my merch store as well. What else? Oh, for bookings, book Camaro Jackson at gmail.com. So I think that's it. I have a lot of like little now.
That's it. But there you go. Book the absolute Grand Regent for your show. As we wrap up, I just need to quickly mention it, and big thanks to AEW itself. So we are AEW media partners now in the UK, and our first interview is coming up very soon as we lead up to All In with the Murder Hawk monster, Lance Archer. He'll be joining us next week. But Camaro, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure to have you on. We look forward to seeing you when it goes back to the territories. Don't forget to watch NWA on the CW app in America, or if you're in the UK, just buy a VPN and you can get the CW app on there. This has been NWA Talking Territories. He has been the Grand Regent Camaro Jackson. I have been Adam Cousins. And until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe.